Welcome to Hypnosis Health Info and this Slender for Life. I'm Roger Moore, and welcome to both my Seattle office and Bainbridge Island office. Today I happen to be over here on Bainbridge Island. I came across a report, a post that I found very informative and very fascinating. It was written by Dr. Thomas M. Campbell, MD. Thomas Campbell is the son of Colin Campbell, who wrote the China study, and actually I think, if I remember right, Thomas Campbell co-authored or at least had some input into the book, as I recall correctly. Anyway, the title of this article is 12 Frightening Facts About Milk. And this was written on October 31st of 2014, and this happens to be November 7th. And this morning I got involved in a conversation. I was actually at the grocery store, and I was there picking up some vegetables for dinner tonight and some bananas for snacks today. And I happened to walk past where the milk is. And somebody that I knew was there and asked me what kind of milk I drink. And she was standing there looking at the various milks, and I pointed to the rice and almond milk that was there, and I said, that's what I drink. And she said, well, what about cow's milk? So I wouldn't touch it. And she said, why not? And I said, well, because it'll kill you. It causes disease, and human beings were never created to consume dairy products. And then she wanted to know, well, what about calcium? What about strong bones? And I told her about the Dairy Council's own studies that show that dairy products take calcium out of your body, that when you drink a glass of milk that you end up with a negative calcium deficiency because it takes out more than what it puts in, and that nowhere in a milk carton does it say that milk builds strong bones. It's vitamin D fortified, and that vitamin D builds strong bones. And so they had to add to it to do any calcium supplementation that way. And we talked a little bit about cheese and the dangers of cheese and ice cream and all the dairy products, and then we chatted, and she wanted to know how long I'd been without dairy products, and I said, well, pretty much for almost 18, 19 years now, and I told her that I grew up in a dairy farm where drinking raw milk and eating lots of ice cream and lots of butter was just what we did. And that how, when I used to weigh 260 pounds more than I do now, I lived on cheese. Couldn't imagine life without cheese. And so for me to give up all dairy products, she found very radical. And I just pointed out to her that as I got, was 260 pounds and was starting to deal with blood pressure and with blood sugar levels, that the things that the doctors were proposing to me from a medical standpoint, to me were very radical, and that eating healthy and eating vegetables and eating starches, whole grains, eating fruit, and exercising my body, there was nothing radical about that. That it was actually quite natural and surprisingly easy. And then I mentioned to her this study that I had read and got her email address from her and sent it to her. So I thought I'd share it with you. The title of the article is 12 Frightening Facts About Milk. And again, it's by Dr. Thomas Campbell, and it was from the Center of Nutrition Studies. A large observational cohort study in Sweden found that women consuming more than 3 glasses of milk a day had almost twice the mortality over 20 years compared to those women consuming less than 1 glass a day. In addition, the high milk drinkers did not have improved bone health. In fact, they had more fractures, particularly hip fractures. Interestingly, the study also found that fermented milk products, cheese and yogurt, significantly decreased mortality and fractures among these women. For each serving of these fermented dairy products, the rate of mortality and hip fractures was reduced by 10 to 15%. The researchers pinned the negative effects of liquid milk on D-galactose, a breakdown product of lactose that has been shown to be pro-inflammatory. Milk has much more D-galactose than does cheese or yogurt. And then he goes on to say, I am surprised that this study garnered so much press media attention upon its release, as it highlights the deleterious side of milk. But I also think it's important to keep the findings in context. And when it comes to health effects of dairy, the context is not so pretty. And then he lists 12 things. The first one, in observational studies, both across countries and within single populations, higher dairy intake has been linked to increased risk of prostate cancer, and that includes both cheese and yogurt. Number 2, observational cohort studies have shown that higher dairy intake is linked to higher ovarian cancer risk. Number 3, cow's milk protein may play a role in triggering type 1 diabetes through a process called molecular mimicry. And one of the first things that when someone comes into one of my offices with diabetes, and that's the focus of the work that we do, is I provide them tons of education about the health hazards of drinking milk. And it's amazing how blood sugars stabilize when people get off the milk proteins. Number 4, across countries, populations that consume more dairy have higher rates of multiple sclerosis. Number 5, in interventional animal experiments and human studies, dairy protein has been shown to increase IGF-1, which is an insulin-like growth factor 1, levels. Increased levels of IGF-1 has now been implicated in several cancers. 6, in interventional animal experiments and human experiments, dairy proteins have been shown to promote increased cholesterol levels in the human studies and animal studies, and atherosclerosis in animal studies. Number 7, the primary milk protein, casein, promotes cancer initiated by a carcinogen in experimental animal studies. 8, D-galactose has been found to be pro-inflammatory and actually is given to create animal models of aging. 9, higher milk intake is linked to acne. 10, milk intake has been implicated in constipation and ear infections. 11, milk is perhaps the most common self-reported food allergen in the world. 12, much of the world's population cannot adequately digest milk due to lactose intolerance. So despite being very pleased that the public is glimpsing some of the evidence against milk in this study, though they also could be hearing about the benefits of cheese and yogurt from the same study, I think there is far more powerful story. A story that takes into account the largely hidden context of diet and dairy research. There is a wealth of indirect evidence of very serious possible harms of consuming dairy foods. And on the flip side, the evidence that milk prevents fractures is scant. As we look beyond the headlines, it's hard to think that we should continue to consume the lactation fluid that exists in nature to nourish and rapidly grow calves. So folks, here at Hypnosis Health Info at Slender for Life, my Bainbridge Island office, my Seattle office, once a month I'm over in Forks, and then I have clients in several states and several countries around the world. I support you in providing you the educational material on nutrition that you need to improve your health. And then I teach you the mindfulness-based hypnosis tools that allow you to take control of you, and to where you can very easily create a large amount of no desire for foods like milk and cheese and yogurt and butter and ice cream, as well as chicken, fish, beef, pork, foods that make you fat and sick. You too can have a large amount of no desire for those foods. And you also can create a large amount of desire, a wonderful desire for the whole grains, the starches, for the vegetables and the fruit. you can take back your power. The power you gave away to ice cream and cheese and butter and milk and Snickers bars and whatever your drug of choice might be. You can take that power back, put yourself in control using mindfulness self-hypnosis. Now I'm happy to provide you a free consultation and develop a program to meet your needs. I encourage you to look around here at Hypnosis Health Info and at Slender for Life and all the resources and tools that are here for you. But if I can be of support, please give me a call at 206-903-1232 or send me an email, roger@hypnosishealthinfo.com, and let me know how to support you. I'm Roger Moore, and this is Hypnosis Health Info.